Welcome to the Biz Bash podcast, where we make biz strategy a piece of cake. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cami, but you might know us better as Eliza Ann Calligraphy and Cami Monet. We want to help you, our fellow stationers, artists, and calligraphers, confidently build a profitable and personality-driven creative biz.
We're here to share our honest-to-goodness advice and actionable strategies for ambitious artists.
So put on your party hat, quit being a procrastinator gator, and let's get this party started. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Biz Bash podcast. This is Q and Cake number 7. We love the Q and Cake episodes because it's just a time for us to read the questions you guys have submitted and answer them as best as we can. It also just feels like a fun quiz day. I feel I get so amped up for these. I'm like, gotta get them right. So we're going for 5 for 5 here. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the first question we have from Lene B. And she asked, I was wondering if you have experience in giving one-on-one calligraphy lessons / tutorship. What would you charge per hour, and would you have any tips in this regard?
I can go ahead and start with just what I've done for calligraphy one-on-one lessons, which I think I've done a whopping one of them. So
wow, I've done 0. So
round of applause over here. No, I don't obviously don't advertise anything like that, but I had someone reach out to me who was really interested in coming to a workshop, but I just don't think any of the dates worked for her. So that's when she asked, she was like, well, do you ever do anything one-on-one? And I said, I could make an exception. We could figure it out. And I ended up charging her the same amount I charge a workshop ticket. And here's why, because workshops, I do 2.5 hours long. It's instruction. I go around, obviously talk to all the students individually, but there's also wine or other drinks and snacks, and I have to pay for the venue. And there's a lot of overhead that comes with hosting a workshop for a bunch of people. So instead, I was I'll still charge you the $150 because we're going to meet at Starbucks, and we're not going to meet for 2.5 hours. We're going to meet for 90 minutes, right? So in my head, I was that to me feels balanced out enough that I feel it's justifiable and fair to charge that same rate. And she got everything within the calligraphy kit that I would give to students at a workshop. So she got the same materials.
Yeah, well, I have not done a one-on-one lesson. I don't advertise that or particularly want to, really, because I just don't really have time. But if I did do one, I'd probably charge $150, $175 an hour. And I think that would equal out more than what I would charge for a workshop ticket. But in my mind, I'm reasoning that I'm making more money per hour at a workshop with more people. So it should be a little bit of a higher rate. I just completely, doing it different than what you just said. But your way makes sense too. But so I think I would do $150, $175 an hour. I don't know. But so I would probably need 2 hours of their time to do something with watercolor. I don't know. But anyway, I've never done that. Anytime I've done a one-on-one thing, I've just done it for free with, little kids and my friends' kids that I love. So I haven't done anything serious like that. But anyway, hopefully that's helpful. I know we're not experts in that by any means, but
right. Because the other thing to consider too is if this person actually wants to be tutored, I kind of think of that as a long-term thing. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's okay, there's a little more upfront to cover the cost of your materials. And then if they're coming back on a weekly basis, maybe it's a lower rate, right? $75 for an hour or something, maybe the lessons are shorter just to touch base. But I know that my piano teacher growing up, and my mom had a lot of friends who did piano lessons too. They were charging at least $50 an hour for piano lessons, and there wasn't any sort of ongoing materials for that, right? Necessarily. Yeah. So definitely make sure you value your time correctly. And then decide what you're comfortable with. If you want to charge them $25 an hour, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it.
And I would also make sure to just add on the cost of materials to whatever you decide to charge per hour. Or make them bring their own. So, yeah. Okay, that's covered that one. That's good to go. Next question.
Perfect. Next question. Have either of you ever tried using a pre-order system? As a small business, having a bunch of stocked items is not really spatially or financially viable, especially if I don't know whether the item will sell or not. So I'm considering offering my items on a pre-sale basis, but I was wondering if you know of any pros and cons to this model. And this question is from Alyssa W.
Okay, well, I will start off on this one. I have totally used a pre-order system. I think it's a genius way to get started, especially if you're putting in a lot of investment up front with the product. So specifically, one of the things I did with the pre-order was when I first printed the watercolor booklets, because they are a higher cost, and I didn't want to buy a ton of them and spend all this money if I didn't think they were going to sell. So I did those as a pre-order and was able to recoup the cost of ordering them before I even I already had a profit before I even ordered them. So that was awesome. And then everything after that was just pure profit. And I haven't done the pre-order with them because I know they're going to sell. So anything that I'm not sure of and I don't know how much to order or what kind of stock I need, I'll just do it as a pre-order. I mean, a lot of things I do, you wouldn't even know it's a pre-order. I just already have them on the website. And if you order them, I'll go order it. So, but yeah, it works really well, especially around Christmas time when I'm not sure like which design's going to sell the best. I kind of give it a week and see which ones I'm going to need to order more of and which ones might be a flop. So far, they've all done pretty good, but there's always a few that just rise to the top. And I'm like, okay, I need to order more of those. So it's all kind of a pre-order in my head. Like I don't just order the same amount of every product in my business.
Yeah, that's really smart. I was going to ask too, though. So, like, say this never would have happened because your watercolor booklet is awesome. But, like, say that you put it up for pre-order and, like, 2 people bought it. What would you have decided to do? Or did you have, like, a threshold in your mind of how many you wanted to sell before, making it, like, a permanent part of your business?
Oh, like the watercolor booklet, there was, a higher minimum that I wanted to hit so I could be profitable at because the more you order, the cheaper they are per, but it's more money. So if I had only sold 2, I still had some, they just weren't like printed with this other company. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. So I already had them. So I probably just would have like sold the ones that I used, but not gone through a booklet printing company to do like a huge mass order. But things like prints and mugs and stuff, like those are obviously a lower threshold to order anyway versus, 100 booklets that are expensive. So if I only sell 1, then I order like 5 and hopefully sell the others just to make it worth the cost of shipping.
Do you think like any like artists have ever done something where they're like, I have to hit, like they publicly announce I have to hit X amount of like pre-orders for me to actually send this? Do you think that's like even a thing? I don't know.
I feel like I've seen this happen before. It's almost like having your own version of a Kickstarter, But then I think you'd have to keep up with what happens if you don't hit the thing and people have already paid, like hit the minimum, like say, oh, I need to have 50 people order this. Then like,
right, you'd have to refund them.
You'd have to refund them if you're doing it, if you're announcing it that way and positioning it like that. So I wouldn't do that just because I think that's going to be, more difficult to keep up with. But yeah, I totally do pre-orders on like, and I don't even call them, I'm like, this is a pre-order. I think I did with the watercolor booklet, just so they had the idea that it wasn't going to ship for like another 2 weeks, and to kind of gauge interest on, should I order 100? Should I order 1,000? Like kind of thing.
Right.
So that worked out well. But I think the pre-order system is great. I mean, even with like, if you're doing stuff with like courses and digital downloads, I mean, you can go ahead and already have like pre-orders ready for that without having like everything finished, just like enrolling in a course. And I guarantee you sometimes when you enroll in a course, the course isn't even completely done yet. So out there.
That's probably true. And I mean, like, that's what we're doing with Stationer Summit, essentially, like early registration, you get to save money, but like the content's not live until September 16th. So that's like basically the same strategy,
Mm-hmm, totally. But yeah,
but
anyway,
because we're like, but for different reasons, not because we're like gauging interest, but because
that's a totally different reason.
Opportunity to like save money.
Yeah, that's a different reason than a product kind of thing where you're like, I really don't know how many to order and how to sell. And then as you grow in your business, you start picking up patterns and knowing what's going to sell and how many to order, and you just kind of get a better hang of things. But when you're starting out, you're like, I literally have no idea how many to order. Just go ahead and sell a few, give it a week. I know a lot of artists who run their business like that, so totally fine.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to like ask you about this a little bit at some point because I'm slowly but surely, but like very slowly working on these like letterpress maps, you know?
Yeah.
That's been something on like my to-do list for forever. And so letterpress is like not a, you know, cheap like production by any means, because you're getting
Right.
your plate and like then per piece it's pretty expensive. So I was like, do I just like straight up order like 50 of each map, and then, you know, once they have the plates, like you don't have to pay for that again.
Right.
But I'm like really nervous, especially starting a new collection. Like my hands are like literally getting sweaty right now, because like my confidence with products is just so much lower than confidence with services. And like that's definitely a genuine fear of mine, is like, what if I stock like 50 of each of this map, and I'm probably planning on doing like 5 or 6 in the collection to start, and then they just like sit there, you know?
No, that's a lot. I think I would do some kind of pre-order with this. I mean, even if it's just like, you know, if you don't call it a pre-order, just be like, these will ship after this date, like kind of thing.
Okay.
You know, just to like test it. I mean, it really is a smart way to test the waters before you just go all in and like, you know, make sure. Because what if one of your maps is super popular and one of them like doesn't sell at all? So
Yeah, that's like that's totally the thing, is I'm trying to kind of figure out, and like I'm starting with really big cities first, you know.
yeah.
Like the cities specifically like I live in or have lived in and love, and like obviously we'll do New York and like probably San Francisco, because like really big touristy ones. But I also know people have a ton of success too with like the smaller towns.
Totally.
Knoxville and Louisville, and you know, I've considered doing like a Marietta one. But I'm actually really glad Alyssa asked this question, because now it's kind of like making me think of some of these things that I should like maybe consider.
I know with your OCD brain, you're going to want to order the same amount of each one, but it probably would be best not to. Because like for me, like, you know, all the different cities I have, some of them do amazing, and some of them I sell like one a year, and I'm like, okay, I live in Orlando. I don't understand why the Orlando one no one cares about Orlando. No one ever buys that one. Right. I thought it was going to be a hit, so I printed off a ton of those, and maybe people don't like it. Maybe it's ugly. I don't know. But anyway, I have a ton of Orlando prints because I thought that would be like a higher seller for me, and it's like one of the lowest selling ones in my city collection, which is fascinating to me. So you just never know which ones are going to take off, you know, because like in your head, you're probably like, okay, Atlanta's going to do really good, but maybe it totally isn't. I mean, I have confidence in your stuff. I'm just saying, like, you know, you just never know.
I know. I really like how the Atlanta one is turning out, or like I'm pretty much done with that one. But I've been like working on the Seattle one, and I was like, I'm like a little stumped on that one right now. Like,
have you considered also?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted you again. I was going to say, have you considered doing flat printing to test the waters first before you invest in letterpress? I know the whole thing is like that they're letterpress and that makes it more special, but like that's special to us, but maybe not necessarily to the people buying your prints.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't considered that, mainly because like I'm literally designing them to be letterpressed. So like if I was going to do flat printing, you know, I would like add watercolor or something. And
I still think they're cool, like black and white though.
Yeah, it would still look good.
And then you could do a second release and be like, now available in letterpress, and make it like this huge deal.
Yeah, but then the people who've already bought the other one,
maybe they'll want to buy a letterpress one too, because I probably would. I'd be like, oh, I have this one, but she has letterpress?
I feel like they'd feel slighted, like, oh, what the heck? Like, I bought it. Yeah, that's something I could definitely think about. But in my mind, like, it's always been letterpress. So
I know. Just a thought there. Just a thought.
Sorry, this like turned into a brainstorming session for Elizabeth. We tend to like do this occasionally. Yeah, I feel like it was what we were talking about too, like in the episode about imposter syndrome, where you're like going through the creative process and you're like, this is hard. Like it's actually hard for me to do this. And I feel this way like with this map collection of like, it's all here in my head, but like really getting it out and making it look the way I want to, like it's hard.
It is very hard. It's not like you just sit down. It's like super easy. Like it is a struggle. It is like I said.
And I think too, there's like that weird like artist guilt of like, should I be spending my time on this or other things in my business? Does that make sense? Because I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm like doodling on my iPad. Like, I don't even take myself seriously.
Yeah, I totally get that. There's like things where I'm like, I just want to paint for myself today. I'm like, you can't do that. You have to be a slave driver to yourself and do the things you need to do. I'm like, but I want to. And I'm a good boss. I'm a good and bad boss because I make myself stay on task. But at the same time, like maybe I should let myself go off task because you're right. Like maybe you do need to just like take yourself seriously and be like, no, this is good for me too.
Yeah, to like do something you're really passionate
Yeah,
about. Look at us
for real.
guys. Now we're like all on a
Oh
completely
my
different like
gosh.
brain
I know.
brain length. But Cami, I think we probably wrapped that one up pretty well.
Yeah.
Probably did extra than we needed to. So do you want to read the next one?
Yes. This question is from Natasha, and she said, what do you do when you worked with a bride in the past in their invitation suite and they come back to you further down the line asking for day of details? You'd love to help them, but they've only given you 3 weeks notice and you just can't squeeze them in. Then they email you and ask for high-res artwork files of the venue illustration and map illustrations so that they can go somewhere else to get them printed. I'm hesitant to send these. Am I being mean and spoiling someone's wedding day if I don't?
This is literally so hard. Like, I feel like I can feel like Natasha's like pain as she's like writing this question,
I know.
right?
I know.
uh okay, so in terms of being able to like talk to your couples about deadlines and timing for things, I feel like first of all, let me just put this out there. Like if you say no, I don't think you should feel like you're being mean or spoiling someone's wedding day. Because at the end of the day, like they're not gonna remember this. They're gonna go somewhere else, they're gonna problem solve, get something else done, and the programs are gonna probably be like the last thing on their mind on the actual wedding day. Like in the moment they might be annoyed. But going back to kind of like what I started saying is there maybe needs to be some type of discussion with your couples during the invitation suite design phase to say, hey, if you do want to use me for day of items, we need to like book these and get started by X date. Otherwise, I might not be available. That's like going forward. But Cami, do you have any like advice for like in this specific moment how to handle it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said about just like setting up that expectation and be like, hey, if you want to move forward on day of details, here's the timeline and here's what to expect, blah, blah, blah. Like that can be part of your offboarding process for the invitation and a way to upsell your services. But what I do is when clients want artwork files that I've done for their invitations is that I simply just charge them an extended licensing fee for it. So I actually love doing this because then I don't have to design anything. I can just send it off and not worry about it. So I just give them the digital files at their $75 each for the extended license to use or $150 for unlimited license to print wherever they want. And so I just prepare the file and send it over, give them an invoice and be like, yeah, $75. And, I think 99% of my brides end up purchasing, the digital file of their crest or their map or whatever, because they want to use it on other things. That's exactly what I would do is I would just be like, sure, no problem. It's $75 because it doesn't take you any time to, prepare the digital file as much as it does to design something. I can totally get that. And it kind of sucks because you have to like let go of control a little bit and know that the inequality of them printing it might not look as good as what you would have done. So I just have to like let go and be like, it's gonna be okay. Like, that the artwork still looks good. But yeah, just sell them an extended license file for the artwork.
Yeah, and I think like part of like the underlying tension of this question, and I don't want to read into it too much, but like Natasha, when you write, they then email you to ask for your high-res artwork files of the venue illustration and map that you did so they can go somewhere else. Like I'm feeling from this question, wow, this sounds like so like woo-woo. I feel from this question that like that they almost were asking for them for free. Do you think, Cami, like with the way that this was written?
I mean, any client who's like, hey, can I get that? They don't, first of all, it's already in my contract, but I guarantee you they skipped over the part about extended license thing and just be like,
yeah,
so it's totally fine. There, a lot of times we read into what the client is emailing us, even though it's like They're just being like, can I get this? And they have no idea. And we're like, how dare they? But really,
right.
it's
So
like,
that's why I like feel like Natasha was like, am I being mean and spoiling it by saying no? When in reality, you should say, thanks so much for asking that. Here's the pricing for the files. And then
Yeah.
you respond with that. Because in this instance, I think like the tension was between like a yes or no question of like, no, you can't have them, as opposed to saying like, oh, yes, you can, but there is a price that comes with it, like educating that person a little bit. Like you can't just like run away with the files and have them for whatever.
Yeah. I also have a contract that they sign when they get that. It says like, here's what you can and cannot do. Like you can't change the colors on this. You can't like take your crest and then take out your monogram and then have two things. Like if you want the monogram inside your crest, then you have to pay for two files. Like all these things lined up and that. Also, maybe she feels a little salty because they're taking them somewhere else to get them printed. And she was like, oh wait, no, she said she just can't squeeze them in.
Yeah,
never mind. Sometimes I can be
she
salty about them. Like, well, I can do that. Why don't you just do it with me? You know? But
I think it's more of like what you were mentioning about the control aspect. And I think we get really hung up on that as artists of like, oh, but I do want control in my artwork. I do want this. I do want that. And then, but then you have to use like the left side of your brain, the analytical side that goes, but what if I made some money?
yeah.
Like money can help like fix things a little bit. Cause if you feel like the value of what you're providing with those files is like covered and compensated financially, then like you won't feel as bad about, you know, if somebody potentially like designs a horrible program for them or whatever. Like at least you were compensated for your art.
And you didn't have to put any time into designing it, which is something that's very valuable to me now. I'm like, that's great. They can take it and I don't have to design day of items because that takes just as much time, you know. So I like getting paid and not having a ton of time. So anyway.
Yeah, and there are like stationers' entire businesses. Some of them rely on like hiring out other artists anyways, because like not every stationer is an artist.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I finally worked with another stationer on that. I did that. Castle Hill Inn was a venue illustration. I just did the venue illustration and she took the file and designed the suite. And I was like, this is awesome.
I know, right? How cool is that?
I loved it. I was like, I want to do this more. So hopefully I can get some more jobs doing that because I actually really like just doing the artwork for it. And now I'm going to stress out about printing it and sending proofs.
Yeah, and all of those different things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's why I'm looking forward to Simply Jessica Marie's session in the Stationer Summit, all about licensing your artwork with other stationers, because that's exactly what she's doing now, and it's so smart.
I know, it's so cool, because then she really gets to like focus on being the artist instead of doing the other like in between dramatic things that like clients need or might say or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder if she identifies as an artist or an entrepreneur. I'm gonna ask her.
I feel like she'd be right in the middle. Yeah, you should.
I can't decide. I really can't decide. So
I think of her as an artist.
I think of her as both. I mean, she's definitely both. Yeah. Definitely both.
Sorry,
what does she personally feel? Because now she wants to do more of the art side. I know that's like where her heart truly lies, is like doing the artwork. So
yeah, it's really cool. Giving herself room to do that. It's very smart. She's a very smart businesswoman, serious businesswoman.
She is a serious businesswoman. I know. I'm like, God, it sounds like so much freedom. Like I'm getting all excited. I'm like, maybe I should just do that. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Anyway.
All right. So next question. Do we feel like we wrapped that up pretty well?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Who's reading this one? Did I read the last one? Oh, yeah. Okay. This is from Jen T, and she says, how much and what sweets and envelopes? Okay. Let me rephrase this a little bit. What sweets and envelopes do you print at home, and how much do you end up outsourcing to other printers, such as gold foil, letterpress, etc.? Thanks, and I love your podcast and Insta stories. Woot woot. But part of her question too, at the beginning, she asked like how much. So I wonder, like for her, if like quantity, right? Like if it was under 50, would you maybe try to do it at home? Like, so that's part of it. That's kind of part of it too.
I was thinking like percentage wise, like what percentage of things are printed at home versus outsourced?
Oh, actually, yeah. I think you interpreted that correctly and I didn't.
So for me, I think 90% of what I print is outsourced, you know, because the other 10% would just be envelopes. That's the only thing I print at home.
That's the only thing I print at home too is envelopes, especially because like with gold foil and letterpress, I mean, neither of us have the means to do that anyways. I could see, Cami, now that you have a white ink printer, like if a bride wanted like a colored paper with
Yeah.
white ink, you could print that at home.
Yeah, I could do that, or like vellum with white ink. I could do that at home now. I think I would print like a vellum overlay at home.
Yeah.
You
Figure
know?
out how to do that for sure.
But not the actual suite itself. Because a lot of times I'm like, I don't want to do any color matching. And then like the paper, the type that I would want to use is probably not even going to work in the printers I want anyway, because it's like pretty thick.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much need to outsource all that. But like little details, yeah, like the vellum, the envelopes, maybe like a colored piece of paper. Yeah, that would be cool. I could do those at home.
Yeah, easily. And I mean, I know for me, like when I first started, I got the Epson Artisan 1430 because
who didn't?
Everyone had that printer, right? Who didn't? Like literally, we needed to make like shirts with that printer on it. Victoria of Design House Amora was the one that used it and like told everyone about it. So then I think like everyone got it. And I remember using that one to like print a save the date for a client. And I want to say there were probably like 80 of them, like 75 or 80. And after doing that at home, I was like, never again in my life. Like, this is too much, like too consuming for my time and my business model. Like, I will outsource this. So I learned pretty quickly, like, just the value of letting someone else do it, especially when they're running a business that's like meant to do that anyways.
Yeah, I remember trying to just print greeting cards on my Epson Artisan 1430 and the colors were all horrible, and I was like, what in the heck? Because at that point I did not understand like that you have to change colors and troubleshoot printing methods. I was just like, it's here, right? I paid for it, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
And I get so frustrated. And I did print a handmade paper suite on that one time, and that was probably the worst time of my life. So I will never ever do that again. And there are printers who will now print on handmade paper with digital printing. So literally no reason to ever print at home unless you just want to torture yourself. But that's my
right. And all of that stuff gets built into your pricing model too, because like don't charge face value for when you're outsourcing printing, you know?
Yeah, like
that's not how it should work.
Everyone thinks that it's going to be so much cheaper to print at home, but the cost you might save, and I say might very loosely because it's probably like 3 cents because you're wasting so much paper and ink trying to get the right colors, and then the time it takes to do it is completely not worth it. Like not worth it at all.
Not to mention cutting the paper straight. Don't even get me started. That was like my biggest problem with the save the dates. And I was like, I can't freaking cut these straight.
I can picture it perfectly. Yeah. So only envelopes. That's it.
Yeah. Only envelopes. All right. Our last question. Take it away.
Excuse me. Hold on. We have to tell her where we get our outsourced printing from.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Sorry, I'm totally jumping the gun.
So Jen, if you aren't a member of our A to Z directory yet, well, then you totally should be, because we have all of our favorite vendors and printers on there to do gold foil, letterpress, vellum printing, white ink, you know, the whole shebang, ribbons, postage, mugs, t-shirts, zipper pouches, literally everything from A to Z is in there. And we have a private Facebook group where we all can troubleshoot printing problems, finding the right place to get things done, and yeah, just have a good community. So if you want to join that, it is just bizbirthdaybash.com/directory.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I like knew I was forgetting something.
It's totally fine. Am I reading this one?
Yep, this is for you.
This question is from Corey S. This question says, if you had to choose to focus on one social media platform, which would you choose? Particularly if you feel like you missed the Instagram boat and are struggling to get followers and visibility on the platform. Is Pinterest where it's at for a visually centered industry like stationery?
And that's from Corey S. Oh, did you already say that?
I did. Oh my gosh.
I'm listening, I promise.
Well, tell us what your social media platform would be.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a hard one. So first of all, let me just start by saying I feel like I get very like psychiatristy and like counseling during Q and Cakes.
You really do. It's great.
I'm feeling from, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
So you asked about like followers and visibility on Instagram and like whether you quote unquote missed the boat. So let's just like clear the air real quick and go ahead and say like followers don't equal business. That's just not the reality. And I think we get really caught up in that of like, oh, we have to, like hit 10K to have a like thriving creative business on Instagram. And that's not true. I know people that have had like tens of thousands of followers and struggled with business and sales a lot more than with people who maybe have a few hundred. And part of that is just where you dedicate your time to. And this is a lesson that I've been learning as a creative. That we get really caught up in like, oh, social media is like the way, but there's other steps you can take for marketing. But that being said, like if you were to choose between like Instagram or Pinterest, I'm still learning a lot about Pinterest. But based on like what I'm learning and what I know, actually like my VA took a Pinterest course for me. And so she's going to kind of be applying those to our business. I wish I had spent more time with Pinterest because of like the way it gets shared and the way that Pinterest is a search engine, and that you can search for terms. Because like Cami, I know that you've had some of your like watercolor maps that have been shared a ton on there.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And I'm like, why didn't I post up on there earlier? But it does just kind of work in the background for you. I'm getting a lot more referrals from it. But I penned those things like 6 months ago. So I'm just now starting to see like my ROI from that. So it is kind of like more of a slow burn. But I will say also, I don't feel like you missed the boat. I feel like the Instagram boat has not set sail yet. Like you can still hop on the boat. It's totally fine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Instagram is my favorite social media platform, even more than Pinterest, because, well, for me, I really enjoy being able to actually have a conversation. You can actually talk to people on Instagram, like Pinterest. No one's like leaving comments back and forth and stuff. So I think that part is really important for me on my business, like show my personality and like have a conversation with a potential client or, a customer and like share the stories and be on there doing goofy videos and whatever. So I still really love Instagram for that. But Pinterest, I do think it is where it's at if you're like trying to get more visual focus, more referrals from like your images. Like if you do amazing art, like I don't know what you do, but if you have like artwork, I think Pinterest is a great way to get started on that, and products too, because they have shoppable pins. But I don't know a ton about Pinterest. But who does know a ton about Pinterest is Carly of CZ Invitations, and she's going to be talking in the Stationer Summit all about Pinterest strategies. And I cannot wait for that session too. Like I just can't wait for everybody's, but that one's going to be fantastic. She already has a Pinterest guide available, like a PDF, I think.
I bought it. I love it.
You did?
Yeah.
I'm about to buy it too because I need it. But yeah, I definitely think it's just kind of where you put your time and, just pick one and go with it. You don't have to be on every single one. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I don't touch Twitter. I don't touch Snapchat. I don't touch Facebook. Like I have a Facebook account, but don't do anything for my business.
I still do stuff on Facebook, actually.
You do, and it gets really good traction. So I feel like that works really well for you.
It's a different audience on Facebook than it is for Instagram. It's like, all the old people are on Facebook now.
Oh, I know. We are the old people. And also, like, I know this is going to sound like so nitpicky of me, but you had asked about like social media platforms specifically, and I have heard a lot lately like Pinterest is not social media because it's a search engine. So just like keep that in mind, because like if you're looking to find a platform to like be social, quote unquote, like Cami's right, like Instagram is where it's at. You get to interact with people, do stories and comment back and forth. And like Pinterest really is this like more of a almost extension of Google, right? Like people like go there to like literally search for something. Yeah, they use it the same way they use Google. So that's why it's so powerful. Man, I'm learning all this stuff about Pinterest, but I haven't done anything to like implement it.
Well, I think Pinterest, you don't see the person behind the brand. You're just like, oh, that's a pretty thing. But like Instagram, maybe you fall in love with the person and then you want them to do your, custom house portrait or whatever. Versus Pinterest, you're putting your artwork first. Instagram, maybe you're putting your personality first.
Yeah, that's very true.
So Instagram definitely has a little bit more of like a holistic approach with things because you are able to converse and talk back and forth. And Pinterest is just like, here's what I have. Buy it.
Yeah. And also I have to say too, like, Instagram has obviously done like a ton for Cami and I's business, and the fact that like, so we met on social media, like we met on Facebook, and then like have obviously connected a ton through Instagram and connected with others through Instagram. So Instagram has like helped us build Biz Birthday Bash a ton. Like I feel like in that way, like followers and visibility has paid off for us a lot because we're like talking to this specific audience that wants to learn more from us. But it's like really tricky with like followers who like follow Eliza and calligraphy, right? Because so many of them are creatives, they're not going to like buy stationery from me. Like I think that's been my biggest struggle with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have more other creatives follow you, and I feel like I have actual people following me. I mean, not that you're not people if you're a creative. You know what I mean?
I just have a bunch of robots following me. Like, how we feel. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with your mailing list, right?
I know,
like,
I don't understand.
You said you're like, people aren't here for education on my mailing list. They're here for my products. So you have to decipher like, where are your people? Like, and people for different things are like in different places, and you know.
I mean, what about like on YouTube with your audience there? I mean, it's probably other creatives, I'm sure.
Yeah, because a lot of my YouTube was like DIY things, like how to do this, how to do that, not so much like client related.
Oh, okay.
So basically, my YouTube is basically kind of like sitting there dormant right now because last time I posted was April 2018, so it's been more than a year. But the thing is, like, YouTube is also kind of a search engine in itself. So when people find those videos, I actually have like a description on every video now that encourages people to sign up for my free email series. And then I can nurture them that way. So I use it as more of like lead generation now, and not so much like I'm not doing a lot to produce anything for that platform at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because we're doing the Stationer Summit, and that is where all my time is devoted.
And that's it. But yeah, okay. So simple answer to this question: if I had to choose one social media platform, I would choose Instagram. But that's just me.
I feel like I missed out on Pinterest, so I feel like but it's hard. It's so hard to say.
You can only pick one. This is like a life or death situation. You can only pick one to move forward with for your business for the rest of your life. Which one would you pick?
Well, I don't want everyone to hate me if I say I would rather pick Pinterest.
No, why would anyone hate you? I think that's fascinating.
Because then they're like, oh, but you've made so many friendships and like you just want to throw it away.
No one is thinking that. You're crazy. No one's thinking that.
I think because I understand, because you know me, I'm like very strategically minded. So like knowing what I know now, like if I had started out by picking like Pinterest, I think it could have done more for my business in the long run. Except for Biz Birthday Bash. That's the problem. Okay, I would pick Instagram for Biz Birthday Bash, and I would pick Pinterest for Liza and Calligraphy. There.
Good answer. Thank you. Thank you. Gee, I would pick Instagram for both because I don't know. Because
like Instagram does share directly to Facebook, so you kind of kill two birds with one stone there.
Yeah, exactly. I just kind of switch up the days. Like I'll just go back and pick one and then share it that day, so it's not the same content every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I think I don't know if we knocked it out of the park, but we, maybe hit a line drive on that one. So. Okay. That wraps up Q and Cake number 7. If you guys have more questions that you want us to struggle with, you can just go to bizbirthdaybash.com/Q and Cake and submit your question there.
Yeah, and you guys seriously ask like some of the best questions. We have like quite the lineup of ones to answer. So I promise we can only do like 5 or so an episode. But we are so thankful that you guys do take the time to submit these and like trust us with asking these questions. Cause like we've said before, like we're still figuring out, we're not perfect. So we can like offer insight. But if you don't agree with what we say, just take it with a grain of salt, seriously, or just like don't listen. It's fine.
Totally fine. This is always a fun episode because every other episode we both write a lot of notes. And this one we just put the questions. So we have no idea what we're going to say. So it's so many directions. It's just kind of one of those up in the air, keeping it loose, keeping it real.
Well, I like it because it keeps it super honest too, because we literally just like answer with like what we think on the spot.
The fly. Yeah, we don't have time to like research and look up anything. So
yeah. Oh man, for real. And the other thing too is if you are loving the Biz Bash podcast, just take some time, if you could, to go to Instagram. Wow, nope, not Instagram. Go to iTunes to leave us a rating and a review. After all that Instagram talk, of course, I'm going to get confused. So, iTunes for leaving a rating and review. We would obviously love to hear from you, and it helps other creatives find us.
Yes, and thank you so much. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Don't be a jerky turkey. Are you ready to push the envelope in your stationery biz and finally get the answers you're looking for? We're bringing together industry leaders in one place with a virtual conference that anyone can attend.
The Stationer Summit is an online game changer with session topics that are for stationers by stationers. And with 18 different educators, you can't afford to miss this. We've got the names you love: Swell Press, Design House Amora, Papel & Co., Design by Laney, and so many others. And you guys, they're here to bring you the answers you can't get anywhere else.
It's time to break down the walls of the stationery industry and open the door for anyone and everyone. We believe there is room for all of us at the table, and we're offering you a virtual seat. And of course, we'll be there too, talking about everyone's favorite topic, pricing.
Here are the deets. Early bird registration takes place August 26th through 30th, and during this week, you can save $100 on your ticket. Official registration will open September 16th through 20th, and the full price is $397. Even at full price, this is an absolute steal.
Get on the waiting list today at stationersummit.com.